All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about ETFs, and we're going to go through how to look for them, how to search for them, everything you need to know on the Fidelity website. So right here, you can just type learn more. After you click on learn more right there, you have iShares ETFs. Now there's a whole thing on ETFs. So I just want to go through the overview and then start breaking down how you actually look at this. So investing in ETFs, get started, and then find ETFs because we are a customer already. We already have an account with them. So this is going to make it nice and easy for us. Right here, you're going to click on it. You can see Fidelity on the top left screen. And then you have all of this that you're looking at. So you can start your ETF screen by applying filters to the left. What that means is we have all the filters over here. So without even using these filters, you could use the Fidelity recommended ETFs. You can use a different company, iShares by BlackRock, those ETFs. You can look up ETFs by market cap. You can look them up by sector. You can look them up by fixed income. Whatever socially responsible means, we'll click on that later. Active ETFs, which means they're going to have higher expense ratios because they're managed by companies, and then digital assets. So let's start on the left side and let's check off. Let's do this first so you can see everything. You have basic, ETF, EP, ETP facts, objectives, exposures, trading characteristics. So let's do the objectives first. So equity, you click on this arrow down, style box, and then when it brings this up, this looks confusing, but it's not. You just have to look on the left side, large value, large blend, large growth. That just means the companies have a market cap greater than 10 billion. And then if you're looking at mid value, that means the companies have a market cap between 2 billion and 10 billion, and then small, which is, less than 2 billion. So we'll start with the large value first. Let's click up there. And as you click, you can see it's updating. You can see the numbers changing. So click on large cap, 252 out of 265. Let's get a little more specific here. We're going to scroll down. Click on this button down here. Get rid of the objectives. Go under exposures. We can see what country we want to invest in. So I'm going to lean this towards United States. And now we are starting to make a criteria based on United States and then large value. Next, it gives you other countries if you wanted to invest in them. Keep scrolling down here, which you can see we did the sector exposure. You can click here. Under sector exposure, you can say, I want stocks that are in consumer discretionary or consumer staples or energy or financials. So ETFs really offer you an abundance of information. You can really get specific on which ones you want to invest in. So I'm going to pick something that I think is going to be useful over the next 5 years and what I think is going to be booming. So I'm going to go with energy, and we're going to keep dwindling this down. So we clicked energy. That's clicked off for us now. Now let's scroll down even more. Now we're going to go to trading characteristics. And for me, I don't really know how much is going to help us when we're thinking long term. So we're going to go to performance. What you can do is you can get specific with the performance. You can do market total return. And we're going to say 10 years because we want to get a nice background of funds that have performed over 10 years. So now, as you can see, we still have a lot of funds left to choose from. And now we did total market returns. We clicked on it. Look, it's negative 77%. Well, we don't want that. So we're going to look for funds that are high and very high. So now we just cycled through. And if I were to just click this one, we'd only have 14 options to choose from, as you can see. So we're going to do very high returns because we want the best of the best. And now we're going to reduce the exposures, the trading characteristics, the performance, which we already did. It's all saved. It's up here. And let's see if we can dwindle this down even more. Let's go to analyst ratings, Morningstar rating, and then now you can rate it from here. So now we're going to click here, Morningstar 10 out of 203. So now there's 10 ETFs that we can choose from in terms of energy. And let's see if there's anything else that we can go through. Let's go to technicals. We're not going to trade off of this because we're thinking long term. It's a little too much. Tax considerations if you're interested in that. But we're going to leave it at that. So now we did our criteria. And you can save to my screens if you want to, but you can see it right here on the right side. So now we have these ETFs listed, as you can see. And you have the SPY-V, which is a Spider S&P 500 Value ETF. So we'll click on, so one thing to click on it is you want to notice these top pieces. I just want to show this first. You can see on the right side, we did the 10 years. So these ETFs have been around for over 10 years. And you can see that almost every single company is over 10.5% in returns. So they've been averaging 10% every year. So that's definitely good news. I also want to see if we can make this go by expense ratio. So let's see if there's anything over here that shows like expense ratio or anything like that, which I'm actually not seeing, surprisingly. Just looking at here, we can hit view all. Let's see if there's anything else. You hit view all, now you have a real big range here. We did total market return 10 years. It shows a whole box, style box, country exposure, sector exposure. And yeah, there's nothing on expense ratio. So we're going to have to, oh, there it is. Here we go. Expense ratio, we're going to click. And now let's apply the criteria. And let's see if expense ratio pops up. Here we go. So here's your net expense ratio that you can add to it. And we obviously want very low. So now we're down to 9. So now we have low expense ratio. I was hoping we could see the expense ratio. There it is. So here's your net expense ratio. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this. And now we just put in order. So if you click it, it goes from high to low. We click it again, it goes from low to high. So now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, these are the ETFs that fit my criteria. And now let's search through them. So this is 0.04% expense ratio, has a 5-star rating. We like that. Returns 10% a year. Now it's showing, because I wanted energy, it's showing energy equity 6%. Oh, let me just fix that because I don't know why I did that. So we're going to click here again, make it even. As you can see, energy equity in this ETF is 6.3%. SCHD is 9% energy, 7% energy. And we can look at that. So because we picked the energy, it'll show that. It's showing you these are one times, they're not leveraged, not inverse. So that's good. We just want a regular fund that we can invest in long term. And now let's click on some of them. So let's try SPY-V. So now we clicked on SPY-V. And this is the Spider Portfolio S&P 500 Value ETF. Let's see if this is different than the S&P 500. We're going to go to composition. It is passively managed. That's why it's got the 0.04% expense ratio. And it is different than the S&P 500 because you can tell, because looking at it, there's no Microsoft in here. There's no Apple in here. It's value companies only because we chose value and large cap. So looking at this portfolio, you can see I like that they have Berkshire Hathaway at 3%. I like that. JP Morgan, ExxonMobil, Johnson & Johnson, United Health, Walmart, Chevron, Bank of America. You can see a kind of a pattern here. So if we go down, we can look at the sector exposure and you'll see the financials are 22.26%. Healthcare is 19%, industrials 11%. So there definitely is more concentration there and it's less focused on technology. You'll notice comparing it to the S&P 500, technology was 8%. So this is a good way for you to figure out how you can diversify what you are looking at in your portfolio. So let's say we wanted to have the energy as well, but we want to have a little more financial exposure. So click on sector. And now that we have energy clicked off, we're also going to see if it allows us, it says at least one. So let's see if we can find, here we go, financials. We can put that in there as well. So we can find if it has something that has a little bit more in it. So when I click financial, notice on the right side here, equity financials, it's showing how much they make up of this fund. So where energy is 7% in the VLU, the financial equities will be 23%. Now, let's scroll down and let's make it, we're going to make it energy, and let's do healthcare as well. So now we put healthcare in there, and I'm going to scroll to the right so you can see, and you will see you have equity energy in this ETF, 7%, financials 22%, and then healthcare is 21%. So now you can see how the funds start changing based on that, because we're making it so the ETF is only focused on that criteria. So let's try this. I'm interested in MGV. It's got the healthcare that I want, 20%, equity 22%, and then energy 7%. So let's try MGV, expense ratio 0.07. And this is how you find new funds. You just have to kind of pick around and see what you're interested in, because you never know what you might find because there's just so many of them. So this is the Vanguard Mega Cap Value Index ETF, which you can buy part of Fidelity if you wanted to. But if you have Vanguard, check out my video. I made a video on high performance index funds and ETFs. I'll attach that to this video as well. So if you're a Vanguard member, I have a video for you, don't worry. Let's click on the composition. Passively managed, that's why you have those low expense ratios at 0.07. 144 companies within this holdings of this ETF. And look, more Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah, Broadcom, JP Morgan, ExxonMobil, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Home Depot. And these top 10 companies make up 27% of it. And this is MGV. So you can really use these ETFs to make like banks, oil, gas, consumable fuels, semiconductor equipment. Like you can find a good range where it's even. You don't have to find something that an ETF that is too concentrated in one area. So let's say you wanted to clear all. Let's start from the top. You could do Fidelity's funds. You can click Fidelity. You can do all Fidelity ETFs, Fidelity Sector ETFs, Fidelity Active ETFs, Fidelity Income ETFs, Fidelity Smart Beta ETFs, Thematic ETFs, and Digital Assets. Let's do something different. Let's click the Smart Beta ETFs. I don't even know what that means, so we're going to look into this. Okay, so here you go. So just clicking on that, it's already going to give you criteria that's already chosen based on that theme. So this is the theme of beta ETFs. And this is actually, this is one that I actually do enjoy and I do want to own one day, is FDVV. So we will definitely check that one out. But let's say you're looking at this and you want to see, okay, well, there's only showing market price, percent change, and net assets. How do I see more? I think all you have to do is just type in under the add criteria. You can either type it in or you can hit view all. And let's say I want to see the net expense ratio, hit apply. And now we should be able to find the net expense ratio in here. So let's try this, expense ratio. There it is, boom. We click it, and now we're gonna do very low. And look, now it's getting cycled through based on the net expense ratio, because you gotta look at that if you're looking at ETFs. So let's see what the Fidelity Momentum Factor ETF is. Now remember, the net assets a lot smaller here, 190 million compared to other ones. So let's click on FDMO, Fidelity Momentum ETF. And here we go. So let's look at the composition of it. Let's see what makes it up. It's passively managed, so the fees are probably lower. And then here you have the holdings, 133 companies in this ETF, top 10, 33%. Other is 66% making up of it. So this is very technology focused. You could just tell right off the bat, Microsoft 7%, Apple almost 6%, Nvidia 4%, Google. This is very technology. Let's just see the sector. Look at that, 28% is technology, financials is 12, healthcare 11. So that's one way you can see. So we'll click off of that. Let's go back into here. Just going off of the basic themes, you can go through anything. Fidelity ETFs you can click on. This gives you every single Fidelity ETF, and you will know because it has this symbol right here that shows it. Once again, these are theme ETFs, and it says traditional ETFs tell the public what assets they hold each day. These ETFs do not. So remember that with these Fidelity theme ETFs, they create additional risk for your investment because, example, you have to pay more money to trade the ETF shares. So definitely something to keep in mind. But here's a fund that I'm well aware of, which is the Fidelity NASDAQ Composite ETF, 1Q. This is definitely a fund that if you want to be technology based, you could definitely recommend long term. It's passively managed, large growth, very volatile. And look how heavily concentrated. Microsoft 12%, Apple 11%, Amazon 6%, Nvidia moving up at 6% because it's just the top dog right now. And you can see that these companies, just these top 10, make up 54%. So it is definitely, 1Q is definitely heavy technology related at 48%. So definitely something to think into. And you can see, well, do I want more software exposure? Do I want more semiconductor exposure? Yeah, you're getting it with 1Q. Technology, it's like 50% almost, 48.51%. So that's another ETF. We're going to go back. You can go to Fidelity Active ETFs. So that means that they are actively managed. And that is important to know because your expense ratios are going to be higher. So let's look at the FD Fidelity High Yield Factor ETF, FDHY. And you will see here that this fund is dividend related, which we will show you because it says high yield. But look, you're paying a higher expense ratio for this, 0.45%, because it's actively owned. And look, it shows taxable bond, actively managed, and that's why it is a much higher expense ratio. So let's see what this portfolio does. It says third-party analytics of the daily holdings compare the ETP's prospectus to its underlying holdings. So as you can see here, this is something that I'm not familiar with. I don't know what this is, FMG Resources 2006. So if I don't understand something, I'm not going to invest in it. But this is showing you high yield. Let's just see what the dividends are on this thing because I got a feeling this pays very good dividends. Look at that, 6.35%. So although you're paying an expense ratio of 0.45%, you're getting 6% yield, which is pretty cool. But I don't understand this ETF, so I'm going to stay away from it. Next, let's look at the Fidelity Digital Asset Funds. You can see here, the Fidelity Digital Assets. This is that Fidelity Bitcoin ETF that you can buy. And then they also have the Fidelity Crypto Industry and Digital Payment ETF. So let's take a quick look at FBTC because it's digital. And right off the bat, it says Fidelity Investments is waiving the fee to invest in Fidelity Bitcoin Origin wise. This means that they'll start charging expense ratio after August 1st, 2004. So they're trying to give an incentive. If you're buying Bitcoin before August 1st, 2024, they're waiving this expense ratio of 0.25%. So it looks like they're trying to build this fund. They're trying to get as much money in as they can to keep it afloat. Look at the composition. It should just be Bitcoin. Yeah, it's just Bitcoin. It just tracks Bitcoin. It's not like you own Bitcoin, but you're just tracking it. You're mirroring what it is. And you're paying an expense ratio for it. So maybe this is the way that they're going to get into 401ks because I don't know who in their right mind is buying Bitcoin, part of Fidelity. Just you can literally buy, you can buy it with the crypto Fidelity and not pay a fee. So I don't know why you'd buy the ETF and pay a 0.25% fee after August 1st. All right, guys, so I just wanted to show you that you can start the ETF screener. You can go through all of these, the objectives, exposures, trading characteristics, performance, volatility. Definitely a great way to do it. It says if you're not sure where to begin, you can watch the video on what is an ETF. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, checking out the ETFs. I got other playlists for you if you want to check them out. You got the Fidelity Active Trader Pro, Investing Ideas, Investing for Beginners, Long-Term Investments, and my Trading P&L for 2024. Lots of good stuff in here. Check it out. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment in the section below.